Chapter 1: The Formation of the Home Army. Soon after the outbreak of World War II, Poland found itself in a state of total chaos. When Germany began its brutal invasion on September 1, 1939, and the Soviet Union joined the aggression on September 17, 1939, the country faced not only military but existential disaster. Polish leaders, both military and civilian, quickly realized that the only way to counter foreign domination was through organized resistance. The first resistance groups emerged almost immediately after the occupation began. Initially, these were loosely organized, often local groups, without strict coordination or central command. However, as time went on, the need for coordinated action became increasingly apparent. By early October 1939, the first structures for a more organized resistance were beginning to take shape, aiming to coordinate resistance efforts against the occupiers. One of the first significant steps was the formation of the military organization, Organizacja Wojskowa, OW, on September 27, 1939. OW was among the first to organize clandestine units and begin planning further actions. Its primary goal was to coordinate military actions and prepare for a prolonged struggle against the occupiers. However, OW was too weak and unable to conduct coordinated actions on a broad scale. A pivotal moment came with the transformation of OW into the Union of Armed Struggle, Związek Walki Zbrojnej, ZWZ, on September 27, 1939, marking a significant step forward. General Michael Tokarczewski-Karasiewicz, the first commander of ZWZ, introduced new structures and strategies aimed at creating a more integrated resistance movement. ZWZ quickly established a command network encompassing military, intelligence, and sabotage units. In 1942, ZWZ was transformed into the Home Army, Armia Krajowa, AK, which aimed to coordinate and strengthen resistance efforts. AK became one of the most powerful resistance movements in occupied Europe, with an extensive command structure, specialized units, and a sophisticated intelligence network. General Stefan Rowecki, also known as Grot, was a key figure in transforming ZWZ into AK and leading the organization. The Home Army was not only characterized by its extensive organizational structure but also by its close ties with the government in exile and the Allies. AK maintained regular contact with the Polish government in exile, which provided political and logistical support. Additionally, the Home Army was an integral part of broader resistance efforts in Europe, coordinating its activities with other groups within the framework of cooperation with the Allies. In the face of brutal occupation, the Home Army had to contend with numerous challenges. The lack of resources, difficulties in maintaining communication, and the threat from the occupiers were just some of the problems its members faced. Despite these challenges, the Home Army was able to organize effective resistance that significantly impacted the course of World War II in Poland. Chapter 2: The Activities of the Home Army during World War II. Once the Home Army was well organized, it was time to focus on actual military operations. Beginning in 1940, AK embarked on a wide range of operations, including sabotage, diversion, intelligence gathering, and armed actions. One of the key activities of the Home Army was conducting numerous sabotage operations. The goal of these actions was to destroy German infrastructure, including railways, bridges, and industrial facilities. Sabotage operations aimed to weaken the German war effort and disrupt the daily functioning of the occupiers. These actions were often carried out under considerable risk but were crucial in undermining the German war machine. Alongside sabotage activities, AK focused on gathering intelligence. The Home Army's intelligence service, known as AK Intelligence, was responsible for providing crucial information about German military plans, movements, and strategies. Intelligence gathering was carried out through a broad network of agents and informants operating in both urban and rural areas. This information was sent to the government in exile and used for planning further military operations. In 1944, the Home Army prepared and launched Operation Berza Storm. This coordinated operation aimed to prepare for the liberation of occupied Poland as the end of the war approached. Operation Berza involved a series of actions designed to weaken the German presence in Poland before the arrival of the Soviet Army. One of the most dramatic events of this period was the Warsaw Uprising, which began on August 1, 1944. This heroic but tragic uprising was one of the largest acts of resistance in occupied Europe. The insurgents, primarily from the Home Army, fought to liberate Warsaw from German occupation. Despite their brave fight, the uprising ended in failure, with tremendous human losses and widespread destruction. The collaboration between the Home Army and the Allies was crucial for the effectiveness of the resistance efforts. Regular intelligence reports and cooperation with the government in exile were essential for planning military operations. The Allies, including Britain and the United States, provided logistical and material support that was necessary for the effective operation of the Home Army. German reactions to the activities of the Home Army were brutal. The occupiers responded to resistance actions with reprisals, including mass arrests, executions, and violence against civilians. Such brutal repression aimed to break the spirit of resistance, but despite these cruel actions, the Home Army continued its activities. Daily life under German occupation was full of hardships. The civilian population faced hunger, violence, and repression, while the Home Army sought to provide support and protection for society. Despite the difficulties, the resistance movement remained resolute in its determination to oppose the occupiers. Chapter 3: The Fate of the Home Army after World War II. After the end of World War II, Poland faced a new and difficult reality. The country fell under Soviet domination, and the new communist regime began taking over power. For many members of the Home Army and the cursed soldiers, the war did not end with the capitulation of the Germans. After the war, the Home Army found itself in a difficult situation. The communist authorities, supported by Soviet security services, began a brutal campaign against former AK members and other resistance groups. Persecutions, arrests, and repressions became everyday occurrences for those who wanted to continue the fight for Poland's freedom and independence. The cursed soldiers, or members of the resistance who refused to accept the new regime, continued their partisan activities. Those who remained in the country continued their struggle in the forests and hid from repressions. These were people who refused to accept the new order imposed by the Soviets and Communists. Repressions against the cursed soldiers were brutal and systematic. Communist authorities conducted mass arrests, used torture, and carried out public executions. Many were murdered, and their families were subjected to repression. Simultaneously, the communist authorities ran a propaganda campaign aimed at demonizing the resistance and portraying it as criminal activity. In the face of increasing brutality from the regime, the Home Army gradually lost its members, and partisan activities became increasingly difficult. However, despite these challenges, many continued to fight for Poland's freedom. Despite the repressions, the ideals and values of the Home Army endured in the hearts of many Poles, and the memory of its activities became a symbol of unwavering resistance against tyranny. Contemporary views on the Home Army and the cursed soldiers are filled with recognition for their courage and sacrifice. The memory of their struggle and suffering is an important part of Polish history, serving as a reminder of relentless determination in the pursuit of freedom and independence. Despite the harsh times, their heroic actions remain a symbol of resilience and the fight for freedom.